All right, guys, this is the Thursday edition of the I Love CVille show. We're back in the saddle, guys. It's good to be with you on a gorgeous Thursday to be above the mud. My name is Jerry Miller. I am live in Charlottesville, the Commonwealth, the country, and the world on the I Love CVille network. We're presented by Skooma Boutique Dispensary, located next to Rapture on the Charlottesville Downtown Mall. Skooma Boutique Dispensary, guys, the spot for CBD, Delta 8, pain management, anxiety, or sleeping through the night. We also thank Scott Wagner Integrated Medicine for being a part of the show. Dr. Wagner has your back with Scott Wagner Integrated Medicine, and of course, the fine folks at Ting Fiber Internet. Power the network, and they've really done a hell of a job of late with the I Love CVille network and our building, the Macklin building on Market Street. A lot we're going to cover on today's program. Today's going to be an abbreviated version of the I Love CVille show, and frankly, I was going to kind of recharge and recover and revamp a lot of the I Love CVille show this week, but I'm so fired up with stuff on my mind. Have my wonderful family, my big boy Trey watching the program right now, drinking a milkshake. I love you too, son. Let me get some things off the mind today. You know, the Delta variant obviously making waves in this community. We have Pfizer, we got Moderna, we got Johnson & Johnson, and we got talented scientists innovating left and right. And on the near horizon, we see the promising potential of vaccinations for children 12 and under. I posted an article from CNBC on the I Love CVille Instagram account. This account, the third largest one in Charlottesville and Central Virginia, behind UVA and behind the City of Charlottesville Instagram account. I was taken aback and astonished by some of the negativity and, frankly, the downright hate toward this vaccination and how it could apply to children 12 and under. I think if we're setting expectations for this community, if we're setting expectations for this Commonwealth and for this country, children 12 and under, children 12 to 18 that are in middle school and high school, get ready. Public schools are going to mandate this. Fredericksburg schools, which is 90 minutes away from us, hour and change from us. If you want to play sports in Fredericksburg public schools, you're mandated to have a vaccination. If you want to play sports in Charlottesville public schools, you're mandated to have a vaccination. That means if you don't show proof of vaccination in Charlottesville City Schools, Fredericksburg City Schools, you're not getting on the gridiron, you're not getting on the hardwood, you're not getting on the basketball court, you're not getting on the volleyball court, the soccer pitch, you're not playing field hockey. Those are facts. Straight up facts. I understand the trepidation when it comes to this vaccine because perhaps there's not enough evidence or data or empirical statistical information. But how this community, how this Commonwealth, how our kids, how our schools are going to return to normal is getting the kids protected. I am hearing now more children age 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 getting COVID than I certainly did last year. And as a father of a 3-year-old who is everything for my wife and I, getting these little boys and these little girls, these middle schoolers and elementary students and high schoolers protected is how we return to normalcy. That is the next level of demographic or people that are vulnerable to a pandemic that no one anticipated. We want normalcy. Whatever the new normalcy is in 2021 or in 2022, it's getting children protected. I had to get that off my chest. I would encourage you guys that are watching 15 Facebook pages, 15 Twitter accounts, Spotify, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, LinkedIn, Snapchat, TikTok, wherever you're watching. You're streaming the show in your car, driving around town. I would encourage you to go to the I Love CVille Instagram and see some of the feedback. It's the top post on the Instagram to the post I did, the screenshot from CNBC about vaccinations in kids. We want normalcy. We want the economy ticking in the right direction. This is how we do it. And this is coming from a man who is a clear-cut libertarian that does not like folks telling him what to do. But freedom and the return to normalcy is absolutely synonymous with vaccination protection. 100% synonymous with vaccination protection. A couple of other items I want to get off the notebook, or out of the notebook. And I just mentioned Charlottesville City Schools. You're not playing sports for the Charlottesville City Schools District or Charlottesville City School System unless you can show proof of vaccination. Same case for Fredericksburg. And once a couple of these school systems start essentially mandating this, guess what? The rest are going to follow. The rest are going to follow. It is a keeping up with the Joneses mentality in our world today. One person does it, a second one does it, and then next thing you know, many others will. Other items out of the notebook, Chick-fil-A opened in Barracks Road. If you guys want to know the food and beverage businesses, and I've highlighted this in the past, the food and beverage businesses that do the most revenue in the city of Charlottesville, in Albemarle County, it's the Chick-fil-A on Route 29 is one, the Chick-fil-A on Pantops is two, and I'm straight up here to tell you, the Chick-fil-A in Barracks Road will beat the Chick-fil-A on Route 29 and the Chick-fil-A on Pantops like a drum. We'll beat them like a drum. So the top three restaurants, food and beverage businesses in the city of Charlottesville and Albemarle County, from a grossing revenue standpoint, 1, 2, and 3 is going to be Chick-fil-A all day, every day. And they're not even open on Sundays, folks. 1, 2, and 3 gross revenues, top city of Charlottesville and Albemarle County is Chick-fil-A, and it ain't even close. You probably got the Starbucks on Pantops or the Starbucks on 29 in the 4th slot and the 5th slot. Maybe you get a Bodo's Bagels in the top 10. Here's the question I'm going to ask you. Have you seen the traffic nightmare, the drive-through nightmare, the line of cars that patronize Chick-fil-A's in the city of Charlottesville and Albemarle County? We all have, right? Have you seen the drive-through nightmare, the line of cars that patronize the Starbucks around town? Now, I want you to digest that. And I'm going to ask you a very simple and basic question. What is the busiest shopping center in Charlottesville and Albemarle County? What is the busiest one? Do you know? Give me a screen for behind the scenes. What is the busiest shopping center from a traffic standpoint, from a customer standpoint in Charlottesville or Albemarle County? Barracks. Say it a little louder. Barracks. It's Barracks Road Shopping Center. Now I'm going to ask you a question. You take a Chick-fil-A and you integrate it into the busiest shopping center in Charlottesville and an ain't even close Barracks Road Shopping Center. What do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to transpire? That congestion of vehicles is going to get exponentially worse. Exponentially worse. There is a reason the Starbucks on 5th Street Extended, the one close to Wegmans, that Starbucks, they own that building. They are looking for tenants on either side of that Starbucks on 5th Street Extended. There is a reason why that Starbucks cannot find any tenants for that location. You want to know what that reason is? Have you tried to order a coffee in the drive-thru at the Starbucks down 5th Street Extended? It is a catastrophic nightmare of how it's been laid out. The drive-through literally goes on the back side of the building. You do this backwards drive-through pull-in. And when it's busy, that drive-through gets so congested, so convoluted, so bottlenecked, so downright confusing, that the storefronts adjacent or next to that Starbucks on 5th Street, they'll never be able to capture an audience of customers. That's a microcosm of what I'm trying to say here. Take Chick-fil-A at lunch, at peak breakfast, at peak lunch, and peak dinner. Take that drive-through and imagine it during the holiday or Christmas season, Barrick's busiest time. What do you think is going to happen? Take it a step further. Barracks Road Shopping Center, when it snows big time, they do a hell of a job of plowing the parking lot. When they plow that parking lot, they push all the snow into one mountain. One mountain of snow that takes up parking spaces. Then us Charlottesvillians, Central Virginians, and Albemarle Countyans, we do bets, prop bets. When's the Barracks mountain of snow going to melt? Happens every year. Christmas time, if it snows beforehand, peak breakfast, lunch, or dinner at Chick-fil-A, navigate that shopping center and that parking lot. It will be a cluster of tremendous proportions. This is an example. Federal Realty owns the Barracks Road Shopping Center, of a publicly traded company considering solely its bottom line and its stockholders, and not the merchants that rent from them. Not the merchants that rent from them. I can make a convincing and compelling and persuasive argument that having a Chick-fil-A or a Starbucks next to you will not, in fact, drive convenience and more customer traffic to your business, because of the argument I just made. A couple more items I want to get off my notebook here, and then I'm going to go eat my my Bodo's bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich that's resting for me on this desk over here. Always support local here in the Charlottesville community. Always support local. Right, T-Bird? Yes, sir. I know you do, big boy. Two other items out of the notebook. Terry McAuliffe and Glenn Youngkin running for governor of Virginia. I'm a betting man. I'm a gambling man. I'm an entrepreneur. McAuliffe is a heavy favorite. I would darn near say close to being a lock in the blue-purple Commonwealth of Virginia. McAuliffe should catch some heat. This dude who talks out of both sides of his mouth, all politicians do. McAuliffe captured on an Amtrak train by passengers on that train walking up and down the car without a mask on, in a tin can with no ventilation. A politician who screams into microphones, in front of podiums, in front of thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people in the Commonwealth, mask up, vax up. McAuliffe, mask up, vax up. And what do? We see McAuliffe on an Amtrak headed to the Big Apple without a mask on. That's called political hypocrisy. That's called political hypocrisy. And I still think McAuliffe is a slam dunk to win the governor's mansion in our fine Commonwealth of Virginia. But it's paramount. It is absolutely paramount that we hold elected officials accountable. It's journalism, it's the media, and the right of free speech that holds politicians accountable and keeps them from pursuing corruptible, nefarious, and shady motives. without free speech and journalism and local media, corruption, shady, and nefarious motives will run much more rampant than they already do. McAuliffe, for you. McAuliffe, get that mask on in the Amtrak car. All right, last item out of the notebook. And this one's going to hit close to home. This is the last item out of the notebook, and this one's going to hit really close to home. Mark McKinney, hello. Earl Smith, we're going to make that interview happen next week. Earl Smith, you're right, it's Barracks Road Shopping Center. Scottsville influencer. Mark McKinney, political behavior like that is what is driving a factor people and being hesitant and questioning masks and vaccinations. Dude, well said, Mark. Well said, Mark. Well said, Mark. Do you remember early in the pandemic when Dr. Ralph Northam was at a political rally in Virginia Beach, hugging and glad-handing and shaking and kissing babies? And he was doing it with no social distancing, no mask on, and pre-vaccination. Do we all remember when Northam, the doctor, the pediatrician, was doing that? That's called political hypocrisy. I remember that. We hold people accountable, especially elected officials, where the expectation for an elected official is accountability. That's why they were elected into office. Last item out of my notebook, okay? This one's going to hit really close to Charlottesville. Then I'm going to go eat my Bodo's bacon, egg, and cheese on an everything bagel with my boy Trey. That's you. There is undoubtedly a catastrophe on the near horizon. A local government, a local perception, conflict of interest that we need to watch closely. The Charlottesville Police Civilian Review Board is chaired by Bellamy Brown. And Bellamy Brown right now, who I think does a fine job on the Police Civilian Review Board, is catching some heat. In fact, there are two members of the Police Civilian Review Board that are doing behind-the-scenes wheeling and dealing to push Mr. Bellamy Brown off this board. And the dynamics of this behind-the-scenes wheeling and dealing demoralize me, frustrate me, anger me, and frankly piss me off. You got two white people in the Police Civilian Review Board that are trying to push a black chairman off the board. Bellamy Brown, local, born and raised, a Marine, committed to public service. Bellamy Brown run for city council. If I lived in Charlottesville, he undoubtedly would have had my vote. Bellamy Brown serving as chairman on the Police Civilian Review Board, allocating tens of hours of his week, volunteer to better our community. Bellamy Brown brings to light 2 meetings ago in the Charlottesville Police Civilian Review Board. He brings to light in a monologue or a speech at the end where he clearly indicates it's him talking as a citizen and not as chairman of the board, the disgruntled nature of rank and file police officers in the Charlottesville Police Department. He highlights surveys and conversations he's had within the department and how rank and file was frustrated, angered, questioning walking on eggshells because of police department leadership, i.e. Chief Brackney. Long story short, city manager Chip Boyles, 15 days ago, fires the police chief. This pink slipping, this axing, this firing of the police chief then led to Nakia Walker withdrawing from the race for mayor, for city council here in Charlottesville. This firing, this pink slipping, this getting the hell out of Dodge of the police chief is still causing ripples in this community. Those ripples now consist of 2 of 6 members, Nancy Carpenter leading the charge, backdooring Chairman Bellamy Brown and trying to elbow this gentleman off the board. Now I want you to consider this. I want you to consider the hypocrisy. I want you to consider the political collateral damage of what I'm about to describe to you. 2 white folks on a civilian review board trying to push out the black chairman. 2 white folks on the police civilian review board trying to push out the black chairman by backdooring conversations with Charlottesville City Council. Do you understand the political, I was going to use a profanity, and I'm not going to because I'm trying to cut those out. Do you understand the political poo storm of city council pushing the chairman of the Civilian Review Board off a volunteer board because 2 white folks on that board are wheeling and dealing behind the scenes to get him removed? Do you understand the political collateral damage that will transpire if city council intervenes with a volunteer board whose sole focus and purpose is the optimization of relationships with citizens, taxpayers, police, and the Department Charlottesville Police in this community? I want you to think about that. I know the counselors listen to the show. We have them on the program. I know the city manager listens to the show. I know the Board of Supervisors listen to the show. You know I'm running for Albemarle County Board of Supervisors in the Scottsville District. We will utilize and leverage the entire reach of this network to hopefully win a seat in the Scottsville District on the Board of Supervisors. Do you understand the collateral damage? The negative political perception that will follow a council, a city hall, that in any way, shape, or form tries to push, remove, or demand the quitting of a black chairman on a volunteer police civilian review board? That is the definition of political malpractice. The definition of political malpractice. And I want to use the influence and the platform and the network that we have here to prevent this from ever happening. Bellamy Brown, a Marine, a local, a human committed to bettering the community. 2 meetings ago, in the Police Civilian Review Board, he highlighted the dismay that rank and file officers had to Chief Brackney. He utilized his personal and individual platform, not the platform of the chairman, but the platform of Bellamy Brown, to tell our community that rank and file officers, the men and women on the beat, on the downtown mall, on Main Street, in Fifeville, in Greenbrier, in Johnson Village, in Barracks Road, in Prospect, in Friendship Court, on Water Street, on High Street, and Little Graves on Belmont, Goodman and Belmont, 10th Street, 14th Street, Rugby Road, and Madison Avenue. The men and women on this beat were disenfranchised, dismayed, demoralized, depressed, and disgusted with leadership in the department. Bellamy brought that to our attention. And because he brought that to our attention, because he had the courage, fortitude, and backbone, conviction, and platform to bring this to our attention, 2 members on his board are trying to backdoor him off it. They're trying to leverage the little political clout they have with Charlottesville City Council and influence council to push Mr. Brown off the board. That, my friends, will create a storm of negative proportions in this community that we don't need. We don't need local government interfering and intervening with a board that is supposed to be independent from council. That, my friends, is common sense and political science 101. My name is Jerry Miller. Tomorrow, Dave Norris, former mayor of Charlottesville, right next to me to talk Chief Brackney, Nakia Walker, Bellamy Brown, Chip Boyles, City Hall, Albemarle County Board of Supervisors, and Central Virginia. This is the I Love CVille show, where the conversation is frank, it's honest, and it's real. Thank you for joining us on a Thursday.